Small businesses, 97% of them will be exempted from corporate income tax, VAT, withholding tax.
Reform Committee ready for January dates as FG says no retreats on implementation of new tax laws. It is not a bomb, but gas cylinder. Kirby Police explains hospital explosion.
We want to urge all of these categories to ensure that they imbibe the spirit of investigative journalism.
Former Attorney General Malami remanded in custody awaits hearing on bail application. Good evening and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Ajola Komiakere will be reading from the city of Lagos. Benny Adams, our very busy businessman, will bring us some business reports. Benny?
Well, as we count down to 2026, investors in Nigeria's capital market are also smiling home with billions and billions of naira. So also their counterparts in South Africa as well as Tunisia. We'll give you details in the course of the bulletin.
Of course. And our sports lady, Francisca Bile, will bring us actions from the world of sports. And Francisca, Nigeria beat Uganda this evening. So what's more?
Of course, the Super Eagles of Nigeria had a quality finish in Group C of the African Cup of Nations after beating Uganda 3-1, and they are stopping with 9 points and will face Mozambique in the round of 16. Details will be brought to you during the sports segment.
Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow this newscast live on all our social handles displayed on the screen. Now we begin with tax matters. President Bola Tinubu says their new tax laws, including those that took effect on June 2026-2025 and the remaining acts scheduled to commence on January 1, 2026, will continue as planned. In a statement, he explained that these reforms are opportunities to build a fair, competitive and robust fiscal foundation for the country, as they're not designed to raise taxes but support a structural reset and drive harmonization. Urging all stakeholders to support the implementation phase, the President observes that no substantial issue has been established to warrant disrupting the reform process, assuring Nigerians that the federal government will continue to act in the interest of the public. Meanwhile, the Implementation Committee on Tax Reforms has assured readiness for the commencement of implementation of the remaining parts of the tax reform laws by January 2026. Chairman of the Presidential Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, gave the assurance in an interview with State House correspondents after meeting with President Bola Tinubu in Lagos. The chairman of the National Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, Chairman, National Tax Policy Implementation Committee, Joseph Tegbe, and Presidential Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, were part of the meeting to brief the President on the preparedness for implementation. 2 of the 4 laws under the tax reform laws, the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Act and the Joint Revenue Establishment Act, have taken effect since June 2026-2025. Oyedele says commencing in January are the remaining 2, which are the Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act.
They plan to commence the new law, the 2 remaining new laws on the 1st of January 2026. We go ahead as planned on schedule because these reforms are designed to provide relief to the Nigerian people. Bottom 98% of workers will see either no PAYE tax or lower taxes to be paid. Small businesses, 97% of them will be exempted from corporate income tax, VAT, withholding tax, and large businesses will see a drop in the taxes that they pay. The whole idea being to try and promote economic growth, inclusivity, as well as shared prosperity for our people. So we're actually excited at the progress we're making, and we're looking forward to January 1st, 2026.
He explained that the immediate objective of the reform is not for revenue generation, but to grow the country's economy.
We believe that over time, you get revenue from growth. When the economy is growing, people pay not because the tax rate has gone up, but because the base has increased. Number 2 is these reforms have rationalized a lot of wasteful and incentives that are distortionary, which is in itself not helpful for the economy. And number three is we see as a result of this transformative tax reform, increasing awareness of and then tax culture and therefore improve compliance. So if people that were not paying before start paying, and they're not people who are low-income earners, not only do you get more revenue, you get fairness for society.
To budget implementation, the Senate and House of Representatives committees on NDDC has met with the Niger Delta Development Commission this Tuesday to receive the proposed 1.75 trillion naira budget for 2025 fiscal year. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikmen reports.
During the engagement at the Senate, the committee told the management of NDDC that it intends to carry out physical assessment of projects executed in the region from 2021 to 2024.
The developmental challenges of the Niger Delta requires institutions that can respond swiftly within the bounds of the law, streamline internal processes, and intervene decisively where communities face urgent hardship. Delays deepen frustration. Responsiveness restores confidence.
The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Samuel Obuku, told the committee that out of the estimated 1.75 trillion naira budget for the 2025 fiscal year, 1.631 trillion naira is earmarked for projects execution across the Niger Delta region.
For the 2025 budget, our main goal is to strengthen our foundation for sustainable economic growth, making a shift from transactional to transformational approaches. A key focus is sectoral funding allocation, moving away from line item budgeting that has hindered contractors from resuming projects.
The meeting continued in a closed session, while at the House of Representatives, lawmakers requested full details of the 2024 budget performance of the Commission before consideration and approval of the 2025 NDDC budget.
Where I'm talking about money not being enough, if you look at the breakdown, the grand total is 98%. Where is the other 2%?
It is our responsibility to subject this budget to rigorous scrutiny in infrastructure development, human capital development, youth empowerment, and economic inclusion.
The House Committee says it will ensure that the 2025 NDDC budget translates to better quality of life for the people of the region. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
In other news, President Bola Tinubu congratulates the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, on his appointment to the Royal Victorian Order by His Majesty King Charles III. A statement through the Special Advisor, Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, says the appointment is in recognition of his long-standing support for young people worldwide, and the President welcomes the exceptional honor bestowed on him, which aligns with his administration's interest in youth empowerment. Business news is next with our very busy businessman, Benny. Benny, let's hear from you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Now, ahead of the new year, oil prices were little change on Tuesday, following a gain of more than 2% in the previous session after Russia accused Ukraine of attacking president residents as investors sought clarity on Ukraine peace talks to gauge the potential supply disruptions. Let's take a look at other commodities in the international markets at the end of transactions today. Away from the commodities market, we'll take a look at the equities market, where the Nigerian market, as well as the South Africa, as well as Tunisia market, ended today's transaction on a bullish streak as investors gained 411 billion naira in the Nigerian market, driven by sustained interest in Julius Berger, Honey Flour, among other 40 stocks, while major African indices remain positive, with the South African GSE top 40 appreciating by 0.43 0.3%, and the Tunisian Tunidex also finishing at 0.63%, which, if you ask me, I'll tell you is impressive, showing that, well, moving into next year, the stocks are going to keep appreciating, giving room for fresh investment. That is it on business at this time. Elizabeth, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Benny, for the updates. And it's been nice doing business with you in 2025. This is the last Tuesday. Moving on, wife of the president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, extends a gesture of goodwill to Christians in Yobe State as they prepare to celebrate 2026 New Year. Adam Yusuf Ali reports.
Part of activities to promote unity, compassion, and peaceful coexistence. 1,000 bags of rice donated by Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has been distributed to Christian communities across Yobe State. The donation aimed at easing the economic burden on families and ensuring a joyful New Year celebration was officially handed over through the relevant state and religious representatives.
I call on all our Christian brothers and sisters to be more dedicated, to be alive to their responsibilities.
You can see the people that are happy. They are, you know, that it's not everyone that will get it, but the few that will get, they are surely going to celebrate New Year with it.
Really appreciate the effort of our Excellency Remi Bola Tinubu for this gesture she has done to us.
Very grateful for this rice that our wife of Tinubu distribute for us.
Community leaders noted that the donation reflects the First Lady's commitment to national unity and her support for vulnerable groups, regardless of religious or ethnic background. They also offered prayers for peace, stability, and continued progress in Nigeria as the country enters the new year. In Damaturu, Adam Yusuf Ali, NTA News.
In a related development, Abdullahi Umar Ilalo from Sokoto reports that 100 women recently participated in a training program organized by the Renewed Hope Initiative, and they have received starter packs to support their small-scale businesses.
The federal government's Renewed Hope agenda, alongside the 9-point SMART agenda of Sokoto State Governor Ahmad Aliyu, continue to make positive impact on the lives of citizens. This skills acquisition training for 100 beneficiaries forms part of broader efforts to empower Nigerian women and promote economic growth. A cross-section of the beneficiaries described the gesture as life-changing, that sought to equip the participants with skills to improve their livelihoods.
The
chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Sokoto, Isa Sadiq Achida, commended the conveners' foresight and commitment to improving the lives of Nigerians. The program is designed to propagate the ideals of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda by inspiring women and youth to become self-reliant.
We have been seeing the ambition and mission to this country and the Sokoto state in general, so that's why we as a youth, we found that worthy to bring the wills that we have to support this Renew Hope and 9 Hope agenda.
If everybody will copy from his own initiative, I think the problems in our society will be ameliorated.
Other speakers noted that the initiative is a step in the right direction towards sustainable development. The event featured presentation of empowerment materials to the trainees to enable them start up their trades. In Sokoto, Abdullah Omar Ilalu, NTA News.
You're watching the Network News on NTA. Let's take a breather. The news continues shortly.
This year, Nigeria watched, Nigeria listened, Nigeria partnered.
Thanks for staying with us. Kebbi State government debunks social media reports suggesting a bomb blast at the General Hospital, Bagodo, stating that the explosion heard in the early hours of Tuesday, December 30, 2025, was caused by a fire outbreak and not an explosive device. Abdul Jalil Mohammed Bawa reports.
The clarification came from the Secretary to the Kebbi State government, Yakubu Balata Fida, who disclosed that preliminary investigations by security agencies confirmed the explosion originated from a fire incident within the hospital staff quarters.
We know the strategic role of the social media and the print and electronic media in the dissemination of information. For that reason, we want to urge all of these categories to ensure that they imbibe the spirit of investigative journalism before making their reports.
He noted that no lives were lost as occupants of the affected building had evacuated safely before the incident. The secretary to the state government commended the swift response of the police and other emergency services who have since taken full control of the area. He urged residents to remain calm and avoid spreading unverified information capable of inciting panic, assuring that comprehensive investigations are ongoing to determine the exact cause of the fire. In Birnin Kebbi, Abdul Mohammed Bawa, NTA.
Now, a bit from the court, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has remanded the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, and 2 others at the Kuje Correctional Facility pending the hearing of the bail application. Malami, his wife and son were arraigned on a 16-count charge by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The offences border on allegations of money laundering to the tune of more than 1 billion naira and frantic efforts to conceal the alleged illicit origins of the money and assets in Abuja, Kano and Kebbi. They pleaded not guilty to all the counts. Counsel to Malami, Joseph Daudu, SN, urged the court to grant his clients bail before the trial. But the prosecution counsel, Ekele Iyenacho, SN, informed the court that he needs time to respond to the written bail application and that the alleged offences violated the Money Laundering Prohibition and Prevention Act. Justice Emeka Nwite adjourned the matter to Friday, 2nd of January 2026 to hear the bail application. In other news, the federal government has dismissed false reports suggesting plans to target opposition figures for arrest or prosecution. In a statement by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, the federal government described as fabricated a document circulating online which alleges existence of a multi-agency task force designed to unlawfully detain opposition politicians. The government says no such program exists and the current administration remains committed to the rule of law, due process and the constitutional rights of all Nigerians. It also cautions against misinformation, particularly as the country moves closer to the 2027 general election. Now, President Bola Tinubu approved state transfer of service of Rotimi Ishaoluwa Oyedepo SN from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to the mainstream federal civil service as the Director of Public Prosecutions in the Federal Ministry of Justice. A statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations of the State House, Abiodun Oladunjoye, says Oyedepo will fill the vacancy following the retirement of Abubakar Babadoko. Now to education. In a renewed effort to reposition Quranic education and correct long-standing misconceptions about Almajiri schooling, the Jigawa State government has convened a high-level meeting between government officials and Sangaya stakeholders. Mohammed Musa Skira brings us details.
According to statistics in the state, there are over 4,000 traditional Sangaya schools currently operate across the state, with an estimated 1.3 million pupils studying the Holy Quran. The governor explained that the large population of Quranic students informed the government's decision to formally include Sangaya education in the state budget in order to sustain and modernize the system. He also corrected the widely held belief that Almajiri are out-of-school children, noting that there are students who study the Holy Quran and acquire knowledge of the Arabic language rather than the Western education alone. He said the integrated model is designed to enable pupils to memorize the Holy Quran while also acquiring vocational skills, numeracy and basic literacy. In line with these reforms, the governor announced that the state government plans to employ 500 Quranic teachers in 2026 to further strengthen the system.
We are all in our Sangaya schools, both the mega Sangaya school, the model Sangaya school and the recitation houses. We all have this equipment. You will learn the Quran, you will learn the numeracy and literacy, and also you will have you will learn some skills that will be of benefit to you in your life.
The issue of Almajiri prison, now we are engaging, we provide an opportunity for more than 2,000, more than even 5,000 Almajiri in our models and their schools.
In recognition of his administration commitments, the Quranic Reciters Association of Nigeria honored Governor Umar Namadi by decorating him as the Grand Patron of the association. In Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
It's time to join Adiola in the seat of aquatic splendor for reports from her zone. Nice to see you, Adiola.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Compliments of a season to you. 6 days after fire engulfed the great Nigerian insurance building on Martin Street, Marina, Lagos, families of those believed to have been inside the building say they are still searching for answers. Conflicting figures from emergency responders have deepened their uncertainty, leaving relatives anxious and demanding clarity over the true number of casualties. Awal Yusuf Jibo has the report.
Loss of a loved one is a pain only those affected can truly understand, and that pain is now being felt by families linked to the fire incident at the Great Nigeria Insurance Building on Marina. 6 days after the inferno, relatives of those believed to have been inside the building say they are still searching for information and awaiting answers as uncertainty continues to surround the actual number of casualties. 3 days ago, the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, announced that 3 bodies had been recovered, while 8 others sustained varying degrees of injuries. That figure is, however, being challenged by associates and family members of those they claim are still missing. Ugochukwu and Basil, for example, insist that many, including their loved ones, are still unaccounted for.
As I'm speaking to you people right now, the tall building that is still standing, there are people, my siblings, Collins, Stephen and Casimir Omatu are all stuck in the building.
The children of my sisters that are involved, even it's luckily that Ugochukwu, who could have been among them, come out with my own particular son, Chimezie. 2 of them are out. So they carried their goods out and they want to come back before they hear the sound. Bua.
There are many more relatives like Ugo and Basil. According to them, it has been a horrific couple of days. However, they remain determined to stay here until the fate of their loved ones is fully ascertained. They are calling on relevant authorities to do whatever they can and however they can do it to bring out their loved ones either dead or alive. Efforts to obtain reactions from LASEMA and other first responders on this have been unsuccessful at the time of filing this report. In Lagos, Awal Yusuf Jubu, NT News.
The year 2025 in Nigeria was defined by several key decisions and policies such as novel tax reform bill and major changes in national security framework. Larry Bileyi highlights these decisions and its would-be impact in 2026.
The new tax reform bills were signed into law with the aim of restructuring the nation's fiscal structure. This also informed the establishment of the Nigeria Revenue Service, NRS, and introduced a unified procedural framework for tax administration. Faced with the rising abductions, banditry, and insurgency, the government declared a nationwide security emergency. It announced the recruitment of 20,000 new police officers and authorized the deployment of forest guards to tackle armed groups hiding in remote areas.
Terrorism is not part of Nigeria. Terrorism should be alien, far off from Nigeria. So what the government needs to do now is to uproot it. I think when it comes to 2026 that we are talking about, the government should really be very, very intentional about it. There are a lot of things. The villages that have been sacked, government should think about, making sure that all these people are relocated back to. Then another thing, which is very important, the government should take over all the mining sites in Nigeria. I don't care how they take over. I don't care. Mining is a federal government thing.
Minister of Works David Umahi championed the adoption of reinforced concrete pavement as the standard for most new federal road projects, a departure from traditional asphalt roads. Federal government also adopted the use of PPP models to bridge the infrastructure deficit. Examples are Enugu to Onitsha road being partly funded by a telecommunication company under the government tax credit scheme, and the 7th Lekki Axial Road by an oil and gas refinery company. The minister also listed some major ongoing road constructions going forward into 2026.
Second legacy project, 1068, a dream of Shagari administration. 47 years ago, that dream has come to be. And the first section has been opened in KB, 258 kilometers by 6 lanes. The same quality of this Lagos-Calabar Coast Highway. You come to south-east, you have the second access road, 17.5 by CGC, and it is also, fully mobilized 30%, 170 billion, 30% paid. Abuja Kano project under Mr. President is part of the Renewed Hope, project. You look at 375 kilometer by 750 kilometer, which is Sokoto down to Zamfara down to Katsina and ending in Kaduna.
These decisions will no doubt shape things to come in 2026. In Lagos, Lanre Bileyi, NTA News.
And those are the reports from Lagos. The news will continue with Elizabeth in Abuja after the break.
2025 marked another step in Nigeria's journey towards destination of development. However, there were many hurdles on the
Nigerian Television Authority, NTA Gombe, were among the 7 victims that lost their lives in a tragic road crash on the Gombe-Yola Federal Highway while heading back from a colleague's wedding. Abbas Mekano brings us details.
This is where the rhythm of newsroom life beat steadily and bright. Today, the corridors echo a different silence, one that has taken some of our own. Six of our beloved colleagues were among the 7 souls lost in a tragic accident on the Gombe-Yola Federal Highway while returning from a colleague's wedding, a celebration of love and unity. One of the tires burst, sending their vehicle spiraling out of control. Out of the 11 passengers, only 5 survived. 6 of the victims were cherished journalists and producers from NTA Gombe. 2 more were esteemed officials from the State Ministry of Information. Zara Umar Adamu, Manager News and Current Affairs. Manu Haruna Kwame, Manager Administration. Jibril Musa Tabra, Retired Manager News. Isa Lawal, Film Editor with the Program Department. Amin Mohammed, Senior Driver, and Adams Daladi, a security man with the Star Times. Their loss has indeed left a void that words can scarcely fill because they were more than colleagues, they were family. We bring this tragedy to the nation not just as a news item, but as a reminder of the fragility of life and the bonds that hold us together. In Gombe, Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, expresses deep shock and sorrow over the tragic death of the 7 journalists. In a statement, the minister described the tragedy as a heartbreaking loss to the NUJ, media community and the nation, assuring that the federal government stands with the bereaved families and media community during this moment of grief. Similarly, Gombe State Governor Muhammadu Inuwa condoles with families, staff and management of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA Gombe and Ministry of Information. In a statement, Governor Inuwa described the incident as a heart-rending tragedy that has plunged Gombe State into mourning. And the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria expresses sadness over the road accident. The bond commiserates with the management and staff of the NTA and families of the deceased, praying for strength during this difficult time. The International Society of Media in Public Health also expresses condolences over the incident. The organization's director, Mujima Kojola, describes the incident as a devastating loss of committed professionals in the media community. In another development, President Bola Tinubu warmly congratulates his ally in the struggle for democracy in Nigeria, the governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, as he turns 55. The president, in a statement, observes the life, struggles and triumphs of Governor Sani in the quest for a free and egalitarian society, saying he brought a refreshing tone to governance in Kaduna State. The president wishes Sanoba good health and renewed wisdom to continue his selfless service to the country. Now let's take a last break. Now to the foreign scene, United States pledges $2 billion for United Nations humanitarian aid in 2026, just as Colombia promises historic increase in minimum wage. Uche Oguchukwu brings us details.
The United States has pledged an initial $2 billion for United Nations humanitarian aid in 2026, far less than it has provided in recent years. UN Humanitarian Aid Chief Tom Fletcher says that the $2 billion goes a huge way to saving millions of lives.
It is not our only commitment to this project. It is an initial anchor commitment tied to these 17 countries. This $2 billion is, we hope, not the end, but only the beginning of what's a partnership.
And it anchors this plan for 2026, where we are seeking to reach 87 million people with life-saving support. Now, of course, this won't fund all of that. We're looking to raise $23 billion for that entire plan. And our work now is to go out and take that case to other donors to respond with generosity.
Elsewhere, Colombian President Gustavo Petro has announced a 23.7% increase in the minimum wage in 2026, the largest in this century. The government maintains that it intends to improve the quality of life for Colombians while facing criticism from the business sector, which calls the measure unsustainable. It is the largest wage increase in the last 25 years. The previous highest increase of 16% was recorded in 2023. President Petro said they intend to reduce inequality, although there will be pressure on prices. Meanwhile, economists warn that the increase will have negative impacts on inflation, the informal economy, and the rising cost of living in the country. Inflation in Colombia is estimated at around 4% for next year, according to the central bank. Uche Oguchukwu, NTA News.
Thank you, Che, for the updates. And Francisca is set to serve us some sporting stories. Francisca.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Welcome to Sports Updates. Now, the Super Eagles of Nigeria qualified to the round of 16 in style, finishing top of Group C with a perfect 9 points after a 3-1 victory over Uganda at the Complex Sportive Defense in Morocco. Paul Onwachu opened the scoring in the 27th minute, while Rafael Onyedika struck twice in the 62nd and 67th minute. Rogers Mato scored a late consolation for Uganda in the 75th minute. Tunisia also advanced to the round of 16 after a 1-0 draw with Tanzania, finishing second in the group with 4 points. Nigeria will now await the conclusion of the remaining group match to learn their opponents in the knockout stage. Meanwhile, Cote d'Ivoire are currently leading Botswana with 3-0. Now, Nigeria's senior men.
Now you know the weather outlook, so stay hydrated. And that's the news. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Elizabeth Omori.